Hi, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Spill It. My name is Marcus, and I will be keeping you company for the next 10 minutes, 5 minutes time. Unsure. Well, let's just crack on, shall we? Spill It is a show where I get to speak to inspirational people and share some inspirational stories to connect people together, inspire others, and help people learn something new. And this episode is no different. This is episode 81, Unapologetically Me. And my amazing guest, Max, will be joining us in a few minutes' time. And there's going to be so much to talk about because Max, believe it or not, was my very, very first official guest on Spill It. And he's back. It's going to be amazing. He's going to be amazing. I can't wait. Yeah. And you can follow me on all of my socials at _Marcus W. Make sure that you do that. Make sure you go and follow all of my socials. And of course, if you're watching this via Facebook, YouTube, or now LinkedIn, then you can also like, rate, and subscribe. Don't forget as well that you can do that and leave a nice, cheeky little review if you're listening to this on the podcast as well. Get those comments and questions in live, or you can send them via email, marcus@spillit.uk. If you send them in live as you are watching this right now, you can do things like this. The word Linda has commented, going morning. Good morning, Linda. It is 7 o'clock in the evening, but it is always morning when it comes to you and I appreciate that very much, Linda. That is right. If you want to be part of the conversation, then all you have to do is leave a comment, and you can comment on LinkedIn, you can comment on YouTube, and you can comment on Facebook to be part of the conversation as well. If you are listening to this on playback, that also means that you can comment still, and we will obviously get in touch with yourselves and reply back to your comments if you've got any questions and things like that. But if you are listening to this on playback, or you are listening to this on the podcast, then you can also just drop me an email with any comments, questions, etc. to my email address, which is marcus@spillit.uk. Last thing as well, don't forget to hit the share button. What are you doing, guys? What are you doing coming into here and watching this without hitting the share button? Make sure you do that, because we want people to come and watch Spill It, of course. We want people to grow into our community and all of that jive. So yeah, don't forget to leave comments and questions to be part of the conversation. And without further ado, it is time for my brand new section, What's Your Ick?
Disgusting!
That's right. It is time for What's Your Ick? If you don't know what your ick is, or you don't know what an ick is, here is a quick explanation for you. So, we all have those people out there in the big wide world where you kind of look at you go, oh, you know what, yeah, you're a good looking person. Or, yeah, you know what, I quite like you, or whatever. And then they do something, you just say, all of a sudden you've just gone off them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, them's and friends, is what we call an ick. Okay. I was browsing on the interweb last night, and I saw something. I saw a post, and honestly, it made me cringe so much. So I had to obviously make a mental note of it and bring it up to you guys, because surely I'm not the only one that thinks that this is completely wrong. But make sure, obviously, if you got a response to this. Maybe you know somebody that does this, or maybe this just really grinds your gears like it does with me. Or even if you do it yourself and you want to kind of defend yourself, drop a comment and let me know, because I'm quite excited to hear what your thoughts are on this. So yeah, I was on the web. I was browsing through TikTok, and I saw a post. I was talking about, like, it was asking the question of how do you fill up your bath? For those people who have a bath, obviously the majority of people nowadays, like myself, we have a shower. But those people who have a bath, it was how do you fill it up? Now, I was thinking in my head, well, when I used to have a bath, it was a case of I would turn the hot water tap on and leave it to go up a little bit, and then if when it got to like a certain height, I'd put some cold in to kind of mix it up, etc., etc. Well, this particular user had commented and said that they sit in the bath. So they sit in the bath and then turn on the taps and they just kind of sit there, like just waiting for the bath to fill up. And I was just thinking, I don't understand. You just kind of sat there because obviously you can't have like your phone in the bathroom and things like that. I mean, people obviously do, but realistically, you wouldn't just sit there with your phone in your hand. But then what did they do? You just sit there waiting for the water to fill up. And I just thought, this is the most childish thing ever. I was just like, if you did that with me, I'd be like, no. Like, can you imagine? Just getting into a relationship with somebody, and then like you're moving together, and then you walk to the bathroom as they're just about to have a bath, and then suddenly there they are, just sat in the bath, just waiting for it to fill up. I just thought, nah, I'm not a fan of that. So that was my ick. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Let me know if you've had any particular incidents where you think, no, that's my ick actually. Make sure that you drop it in the comments and I will definitely interact with them because I want to know what your icks are. But that was my ick.
Disgusting!
Okay, it is that time. We are going to bring out my amazing guest for this evening. It is my pleasure, my utmost pleasure, to introduce the star of the hour. It is my friend, Max. Hello, Max.
Hiya.
Hiya. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am very, very good. It's so nice to see you again.
You too.
It's been a while.
It has been, yes.
Sorting out this layout. There we go. I
yeah.
can now see you properly. So yeah, I can now see you. And yeah, it's been a while since we've had a catch up. You were on our very first episode of Spill It, and now look at you, you're back again.
I know.
What did you think of my ick, by the way?
I agree with you. Like I do what you do. You put your hot water in, and then you test it, and then if you need a bit of cold, you put some cold in, and you kind of work from there. I couldn't sit in it. No, I'd end up burning myself.
I just don't understand.
No.
I just don't understand what the mentality is. Like, I get that obviously this person probably put on like both taps and just kind of sat there. But why are you sat there? Why are you just like, I don't understand. This is the thing that I didn't understand. Why are you just sat there, just waiting for the water to fill? Have you got an ick? Have you got something of yourself that you just think, nah?
Yeah. So mine is people who walk really slowly, especially if like you're standing behind them.
Yeah.
So like I'm not very tall, but I'm quite a fast walker. I walk at like a reasonable speed. And my partner's quite tall, so he walks quite fast as well. And then like when we're walking, if it's a busy street and you're walking quite slow, I get that people might stop and stuff, but let us go past you. Don't just stand there in the middle of the street and then I've got to kind of squish past you. No.
It's so weird because on Friday I posted on my social media that about we need a fast lane and a slow lane, like for walkers. And if you are going to stop, then you need to just shift out of the way, like completely. But there should definitely be a fast lane and a slow lane.
Yes.
There you go. Linda agrees. Sounds like you, Marcus. Because yeah, just push them out of the way. Now, before we get started, and obviously introducing who you are, and going into all of that, and having our little catch up, I always play a game with my guests.
Yes.
So, are you ready to play a game with me today?
Go on then.
Okay, here we go. It is my brand new game, Absolutely Useless. That's right, it is absolutely useless. This is a game that I'm going to be playing with all of my guests during season 3, and the winner takes it all. Now, as we all know, this is the end of the end of the series. It's the end of Spill It. This is the final one. So it's going to be a bit of a competition with all of my guests. Are you ready for a bit of a competition?
I am, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, here we go. This is absolutely useless. The rules are simple. All you have to do is answer 10 simple questions. Okay? They are very, very easy questions. But the twist is that you've got to answer them incorrectly. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if I was to ask you, what color is the sky? Your response would be
green.
Nice. And that means that you would gain a point for that. However, if you guess it incorrectly, you will encounter a penalty. Now, the overall winner will be the person who completes all 10 questions in the best time, and your penalties will give you plus 5 seconds. Okay? So if you answer blue to my sky question, then I will add 5 seconds onto your total time. Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Guys at home, if you are playing this live, then make sure that you flood the comments with what you all of your incorrect answers as well. If you are listening to this on the podcast as well, make sure you play at home or in the car or out for your run and just shout out random words left, right, and centre. Who knows who's listening? Doesn't matter. But anyway, let's go. We are going to kick this off in 3, 2, 1. What is the orange part of an egg called?
A dinosaur.
How many legs do insects have?
4.
What is a baby kangaroo called?
An egg.
What is the closest planet to the sun?
The moon.
In which country can you find the Eiffel Tower?
England.
How many days are there in a year?
2.
How many players are in a football team?
200.
Where do polar bears live?
In Australia.
Nice. Well done. How was that?
That was slightly stressful.
It is, isn't it? When you're trying to think of like because you want to say the correct answer, but yeah, then
because I was like, I need to think what the correct answer is, then I don't give it.
Would you like to know what your time was?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, just waiting for the results to come up. Here we go. So your total time was 43 seconds. So yeah, 43 seconds. It's 43.24 seconds. That's good. There you go.
It is.
So 43.24 seconds. I think, well, considering the fact that that's your first one, happy days.
Happy days.
Right, let's move on. Let's talk about everything to do with you. So for those people who didn't manage to watch our episode together last time during season 1, who the heck are you?
So my name's Max. I am now a 25-year-old young gentleman. I'm a trans man, so what that means is at birth I was born as female, but I now identify as male.
Congratulations.
Yeah. What else about me? I have a partner. I've got a job. I'm quite a normal person, I think.
I have a job.
I've got a job. I've got a car. Pets. Just a normal, average person, I think.
Nice. Well, it's very nice to have you back. I'm sure that there's more to you.
Probably, yes.
But we are going to go into all of that anyway. So, last time that you were on the show, as I said, you were on season 1, and you were on our very, very first episode of season 1 of, well, our official episode. Because we had the pilot episode, which was like just a tester to make sure that things worked. And then you appeared on technically episode 2, but really how I view it as is my first ever episode of Spilling. And you were on there, and it's so weird because now you're my first guest.
Yes.
As luck would have it, because two of my previous guests they had to reschedule their episodes due to one reason or another, which left you to be the third guest essentially. But now actually is back to being my first guest of season 3, which is a full circle
It's full
moment
circle.
there. Absolutely amazing. I love it. But what have you been up to since our last episode together, which will be a very long time considering how long
Yes.
Spill has been going on for and you were the first one? What have you been up to? Tell the world what have you been up to? What things have been different in your life?
I mean, a lot has changed in the last time. I mean, I'm trying to think. Right, I'm trying to think in what order I put them in because a lot has happened. Um, I've got a new job. So since then, because I think the first time we did it was during lockdown.
That's right, yeah.
So I've got a new job since then, and I work for the ambulance service.
Nice. Congratulations.
Um, I now have a house with my partner, so we now have our own house. Um, I got engaged.
Wow, congratulations!
Um, what else has happened? I'm gonna say on the first time I was on, I'd come out, but I'd never actually started any hormones. I'm
That's
now
correct,
over.
yeah. So we're going to talk about that later.
I'm now over a year on testosterone,
Well done. So happy for you.
which means I've had a lot of kind of changes in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna think what else has happened. Got a new job, have a new house, got engaged, started testosterone. I'm trying to think what else major's happened, but I think they're the major ones.
Well, that's fine because other things will probably crop up anyway, like
Yeah,
as we start talking. But with regards to because you touched on the fact that you are now a year deep into taking testosterone.
yeah,
Let's explore that a little bit because beforehand, so when we did our original episode together, you were talking about the fact of like the cost implications and the fact that it kept like, things kind of getting put back and that you had to be on a waiting list for a certain amount of time before they would even consider you, and then you had to go to different meetings and blah blah blah. And I'm assuming that's just because of the time that's gone on that you've been on that waiting list to be able to get that sorted. But what was that process like?
So it's very long, and to be honest with you, I've been very lucky in kind of starting on hormones. So the clinic I was originally with, if I was still with them, I probably wouldn't have started yet. I would
Oh,
probably still be
really?
waiting. Um, During lockdown, a new clinic opened up in Greater Manchester, and or I became eligible for it because I live in the Greater Manchester area,
Nice.
and I'd yet to have an appointment. So I became eligible for them, and they have been absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So from having my first email with them saying, "Hi, I believe I'm now eligible for your clinic. Could I possibly swap?" to starting hormones was probably 6 months. So their waiting list significantly shorter.
Yeah.
But that's just because they're brand new and they had very strict criteria of when you could transfer over to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have been absolutely amazing, and I am incredibly lucky that I live where I live. So if I still was with the original clinic, I don't think I would have started because I've checked and their wait times from first referral to your first appointment is like 6 years, which is a very long time.
Very long. Very
Yeah.
long time. But look at this now. Like
I know.
a year later, and no. So when you first got told that yes, okay, and they've approved everything, and then you were in that first stage of right, okay, here we go. This is it. What
Yeah.
was that day like for you?
It was it was really scary, but at the same time really exciting. So on the day that I was told, yeah, we want you to start hormones, we think this is great for you, we this is probably the best step for you. I was like, thank you. Like, how do I start? They're like, we'll book you in. We'll get like one of our nurses come down to Manchester to see us, and we'll do it because I have to do injections essentially. I was like, okay. So they're like, we'll send it to your GP, pick up the prescription and come and see us. I was like, okay. So I picked up and I was like, I literally am holding in my hands this 1 milliliter ampule of liquid that is going to change my life. And then I got there and I was like, really, it was still during kind of lockdown, so I was on my own, um, and I was just like really nervous, and then excited, and then I had the nurse help me with the injection, and I just kind of went out of like the health centre. I just stood there and went, I don't feel any different, but I don't think I'm meant to feel different 10 minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of gone from there. So now every 3 weeks, I essentially now self inject myself with my with the little liquid gold that it is, and yeah, it's scary, but it's very exciting to just see
What
the
was
changes
the
develop.
nice little segue to the question that I had then as well? So, what was the, because you mentioned just then that all the little changes and things like that. What was the very first change that you saw or that you felt?
The very first change that I felt, I started getting really hairy legs. And it's like, I wish it was like something really dramatic, but it's not. Like, I just started noticing, like, especially on the top of my legs, I was like, oh, I've got little like fuzzy hairs growing. I was like, oh, that's new. And then like my voice started getting a little bit funny. Like, it wasn't 100% noticeable, but to me, I was like, it seems different. And then like just about 6 months in, it was just explosion of hair. So everywhere but my face, apparently, is where hair now grows. So hairy legs, hairy arms, hairy belly, a hairy bum. Just hair everywhere bar my face because for some reason it's refusing to grow there.
Don't worry. I'm quite lucky, but there's so many
Yeah,
of my friends out there who struggle to grow even like a bum fluff mustache.
yeah.
So you're all right. Don't you worry. You're not
I've got
alone
like
in that.
I've got little peach fuzz and that's about it. So I'm like, I'm hoping it will grow in at one point, but at least I don't have to shave it. So
Of course.
yeah.
With how you felt, comparing how you felt when we last spoke, when you were feeling very frustrated with obviously being on that waiting list, but then also just frustrated with the process in general, what has been like a big shift in your mentality around this process from then to now? But then also, how have people like your friends and your family reacted to you essentially?
I think kind of my mentality around it is it's still kind of frustrating because I knew what I wanted and I knew that starting kind of the medical side of things is what would be best, but there was very little I could do. And like wait lists for anything medical have just been going up in the pandemic, and that's just to be expected. But this was something that existed pre-pandemic, so
Mm-hmm.
it just became even more frustrating. I mean, as soon as I got that email from the clinic in Manchester saying, yeah, you are eligible, it just felt like a weight off my chest because I was like, the balls actually started, like the cogs started to turn now. Before it just felt like it had started, but it had just stopped. But as soon as I got that email, it was like, it's the ball's rolling now. I can actually get stuff. And then it's just kind of gone from there. And I say, friends and family have been fun. Because my partner's just been like, I can see the little changes in you. Like mentally, I'm in a lot better place because a lot people now. I still get the odd person every so often not really knowing, but with my voice now, it's a lot deeper.
Mhm.
So when I talk to people on the phone or stuff like that, there's very little times when people still see me or still feel like I'm a woman. So that's my partner's like, oh yeah, I can like he saw the little changes, and so he was really excited because he was like, I can see how much of a positive impact it's having on you. I'm gonna say I remember ringing my mum-in-law, just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to be coming around for something," and she didn't actually know who was ringing on the phone because she doesn't have my
Oh,
number
really?
saved. So she's like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Max." She went, "Your voice sounds weird." I was like, "I'm sorry." I'm gonna say, like, just speaking to people who've not spoke to in like a while. So I saw some of my family this week that I've not seen in over a year. So they've not really seen or even heard me. And they're like, oh my God, you're so different. Like, because for me, the little things, I notice them, but like, because they're just happening now, I don't really take much attention to them.
Of
But they were
course.
like, oh my God, you're so different. I'm like, yeah, sorry. I mean, my dad's loving it because we're currently have a competition who can have a deeper voice.
Go on, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. Catherine has been in touch, just dropped a message here, Catherine Rimmer. In the whole scheme of things, this is such a small period of time until you can live the life of the person who you really are.
That's my mum-in-law.
Ah, nice to see you, mum-in-law. Yeah, and very very true. Like the period of time that you've waited, um, it is such a small
Yeah,
amount of time compared to
the whole
the
scheme
rest
of
of your
it.
life now being exactly who you are meant to be. And I get that obviously the frustration has got to be there whilst you are waiting for that to happen. I wholeheartedly understand that, but yeah, Catherine's right. You are. It's just a small time, really,
Yeah.
compared to everything else that you've got now coming your way. Um, Now, something else that we talked about last time on the show was the lovely government that we have. Now, we aren't going to get political in here because
Nope.
we're not going to talk about.
We're not doing that.
We're not
No.
doing that. We're not talking about like politics. We're not going to touch that one. I'd love to do an episode on politics, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I have so much to say. We'll wait for a tea time episode for that. But however, we did talk about certain things that the government was going to put in place or certain changes that they were going to make that affected the trans community. And I wanted to get your now, obviously 2 years on, I wanted to get your thoughts on all things government attacking the trans community and not being very inclusive.
No. No. They're not doing very well. I mean, we're not going to get into it because I could have a little rant, and I'm not going to because it's 7:30 at night. However, not much has changed. Actually, nothing has changed. It's gone more backwards. So that's fun. Um, there's been a lot of change in government, so I was hoping someone might do something nice, but nothing's happened. It's getting worse. Yeah,
This
it's
is the
all
thing,
fun.
like, where you would think that, like, you would think that obviously, if things hadn't gone backwards, you would naturally start thinking, well, to be fair, they've had a lot on. They've
Yeah,
had switches of like heads of the party. They've had, speaking of parties, you know, party gate. They've had obviously COVID stuff, and they've had the
yeah.
you know where we sit within the economy and all of that lot. So they've had a lot on.
They've had a
You
lot on
can
the
kind of
plate.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can kind of understand it if things hadn't gone worse. But because things have gotten worse, You just think, well, I don't
Well,
understand what you're doing now.
no.
And one of the things that obviously, um, so just to touch on it, just so people are aware who are listening to this, like one of the things that have gone worse. So they recently started talking about, which is great to talk about. So they started talking about conversional therapy, and they started saying that it's inhumane um, to obviously conduct things like this. So they held people accountable, which is absolutely fine. However, however, it only protected L, G, and B of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it didn't cover the T, and they refused, no matter what people said to them, they refused to change. They refused to change the legislation for it. So it is still okay to do conversional therapy uh, on people who identify as trans.
Mhm.
And that's what we're talking about. We are talking
Yeah.
about the fact that this is completely disgusting and this is a complete backstep of human rights. The fact that you can introduce something which is phenomenal. It's great to see that the government has actually taken a stance on conversional therapy that has cost lives throughout the years, and not just lives of people, but it has mentally tormented people, that has turned them into, or flipping out at certain people to disrupt the lives of multiple people, etc. There are there are people out there who have undergone conversional therapy and have not come out of the other side, and that is such
Yeah.
a shame. So it is great to see that there were talks in government about it, and they wanted to introduce this to say that no more conversional therapy. But why could they not include trans in there? And that's what I don't understand. And
I
even
don't
if they
know.
even if they wanted to do it as, we're going to introduce it, but we do think that there's not enough evidence, blah, blah, blah. Stupid. But if they wanted to just do that and go, but we are going to introduce this different type of therapy that was essentially conversion therapy, but it wasn't like to the extremes that we know it as.
Yeah.
However, they didn't even introduce that when pushed for it. They basically just said that they can essentially do conversional therapy by any means necessary, essentially, to the trans community.
Yeah.
And that's what's so mind blowing. So, what are your thoughts on this? And I understand that you'll have a lot,
Yes.
and we won't go into too much detail because we could talk
No.
about this for a full episode. But it is
Mm.
worth noting, because there will be people at home that are affected by this, or there'll be people at home who are completely unaware that this is
Unaware of
going on. So
this.
it is good that we
Yes.
highlight this. So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, when it first came out that they were gonna start looking at it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." I've never personally been affected by it, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I know people who have been, and there's been people who, like you said, have started conversion therapy and never come back out the other side. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! It's a great step." Yes, it's the first kind of positive action I'm seeing. And then when it came to be that it was only actually like trans people weren't protected, I was like, it feels just like another hit. It's like our rights don't really exist. That we, yeah, just our rights just aren't protected, and that we are still a victim. We don't really have anything stopping them,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So it was very annoying, and I was like, all the effort's been put into it. Like you said, it was a massive step, and then it just was like waiting for them to say something else, and nothing happened. I was like, okay, right, yeah. It was just waiting for them to do something. I was like, and there's nothing. Like you said, they could have just done something like, we're gonna do something similar to protect trans people. Might not be as big, but it's something, and there's just nothing. So you could have two people, both gay, sitting there, and one of them would be protected because they're not trans and the other person isn't, purely because they happen to be transgender.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we're just kind of being forgotten about. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like we don't get attacked enough. We
Oh,
clearly do not get
no.
attacked enough. We need more attacking.
Please attack me more. I feel left out.
More. I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go for it. No, wasn't happy. Got very grumpy. But yeah,
It is what it is, and
yeah,
we do what we can, and we raise awareness of it, and we still talk about it, and we make people feel uncomfortable talking about it, essentially, because that's what initiates
yeah,
change, when we talk about it out in the public, and we talk about the effects that this has on people, and we talk about things that make people feel uncomfortable. When you are put in a position that you feel uncomfortable hearing something, it means that it's doing its job. It means that you don't agree with it, but yet you do agree with it, and there's a conflict, and so therefore let's create a bit of conflict, and let's start making people feel uncomfortable about this, because the trans community have felt uncomfortable for a very long time, and so therefore let's try and reflect that back out, but in a more positive way. So we will move on from
mm-hmm.
that subject, but as I say, it was very important that we bring that up, and this won't be the last time that I talk about it on season 3. It's something that I feel very strongly about anyway, so don't worry about that. I will be talking about it all the time.
Good.
But yeah, there's all sorts that we'll be talking about during season 3 anyway, especially the patriarchal society that we live in as well, with the straight white males who run things and run the world and all that lot. So yeah, there's all sorts that we were talking about during season 3 anyway. So yeah, don't you rest assured
Good.
that we will be bringing this matter up again and again and again until more people start talking about it. So yeah, right. Moving swiftly on, because obviously we know the situation with obviously the government and things like that, but also there will be people who are going through their own journey themselves. And I'm just wondering, because obviously you are now, from when we last spoke, on the path of being who you are, or who you truly are meant to be. I'm just wondering if you've got any words of advice for people out there who may be going through something similar, who may be affected by news, media, etc., or just maybe wanting a little bit of guidance of like to how they can be their truest self, if you will, or what words of advice have you got for
Mm, don't believe everything in the news. The news is quite a sad place to begin with. There is very often across many news channels and companies negative news around the trans and kind of gay community. Just ignore it, please. It's not very nice. It's not worth reading. I'm gonna say if people are kind of struggling, seek help from whether it's friends, family. If you do feel like you are transgender, speak to your GP, because as soon as you get that ball rolling, the sooner you can get kind of the help, whether it be through hormones, counselling, whatever it may be. I'm going to say there is a shed loads of groups out there. Um, I'm going to say my personal favourite is kind of there is a UK big group called Mermaids that support kind of parents and young people. They're currently being attacked at the moment by a rather well-known writer who I will not name, but they wrote a series of books about magicians. Um, I'm going to say there's a group in Manchester which my sister-in-law works for called the Proud Trust. They work with kind of young people and parents, and they are absolutely amazing. They hold kind of live chats, kind of you can pop them emails, I'm going to say one of my favorite things is you can pop them in like a message about a word you'd like to define, and that could be kind of queer-related words, kind of words within kind of the LGBT community, and then they kind of add them to like their little dictionary. I'm trying to think what else. There's a lot of groups out there, so it's always worth just having a little bit of a Google and a little bit of a search, because there'll be kind of local groups, there'll be big kind of national groups, but always look and kind of find support, because you're not alone in it. There will be a lot more people who have felt like you have, or feel like you are at the moment, who are there to help and support you. So there's always people there to help. I think that's my little thing over.
I think you hit the nail on the head as well. That you aren't alone in this, and I think that's what people need to remember. If you are feeling some type of way, if you are feeling hurt or affected by something that has been said within the media world, or if you are on your journey, your own personal journey of self discovery, or um, whatever journey you're on, and you're feeling something, or your thought process is something, there will be somebody else out there who is feeling the exact same thing. And so reaching out and speaking about it in a public forum, like we all have social media now, whether that be like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, there are people out there, and that's the great. Obviously, social media has many bad things attached to it. However, this is one of the positive things, that it makes it easier to find a community and to learn more and to find that support. People talk about TikTok all the time, and they say things like about how negative it can be and things like that. But actually, with the algorithm of TikTok, it quickly finds a community for you by what you watch and what you interact with and things like that. The algorithms learn what you do very quickly and places you within a certain community, and you can find a plethora of support within that community. And I think that's the positives that come from social media, the fact that it is easily accessible for people to find a support network and to ask questions without judgment. So yeah, as you said, Max, just you are not alone, and that's what
Yeah.
people need to remember. When we talk about the media, and we talked about this, this is one of my questions back in season one. One of the questions that I asked, and when we look at media and we look at the people out there and we look at support and we look at role models and things like that, how do you think the media does with representation of the trans community?
I'm going to say representation is either really great or not even slightly accurate in the slightest. There's no mid ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's either amazing, normally because it involves actually trans people getting involved and telling them what the truth is, or it's just a perception of what we're like, and it's so far from the truth, it's ridiculous. I'm going to say sometimes you'll see, especially like TV shows and stuff like that, there's always been trans people in TV shows, and I say many years ago wasn't really the most accurate representation. It was more trans women were portrayed more as like drag queens,
Mm-hmm.
which are lovely. Drag queens are great, but that's not what a trans woman is. I'm gonna say now it's got a bit better, mostly because you've got trans actors playing trans characters, so they have real life experience. They know it's not hard for them to act trans because they are trans. But then sometimes you get actors who are great and portray trans people absolutely amazingly, and then you'll get bits that I'm like, yeah, no, that's not what we're like. And a lot of times people will base people will probably have never met a trans person, and they'll base their entire understanding on it of what they've seen in the media, of what they've read about us. And we're not that scary. Like, we're portrayed as like these monsters that are really scary and trying to take away people's rights. I don't want to attack people's rights. I just want my own. Me having rights doesn't affect your rights. We also
Talked
have
about
rights.
this. Yeah, we talked about this like all the way through season 1 and season 2 as well. When we talk about equality, it's not taking the rights from other people. It's leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
It's going, we want the same. Like that's what we're looking for. That's why it's called equality. It's equal. It's the same across the board. So when the trans community are asking for more rights, it's not because they're asking for more rights than you. It's because they're asking for more rights than what they've currently got to level the playing field and make it equal across the board. That's what it is.
That's what it is. I don't want to steal them. I just want my own. I just want to be the same.
But with you were right with obviously things portrayed in media and things like that as well. With regards to what you said, there is a clear difference to when you've got a TV show or a film that has somebody within the writers' room who either is an advocate of the LGBTQ plus community or they are LGBTQ plus themselves, versus the writers' room who is predominantly straight white males.
Straight white men.
There is a clear difference when you look at the writers' room in that regard. Now, one of the best series that I have watched with clear representation more recently was Pause,
yes,
which fully run by Black trans women.
Yep.
And they have got life experiences because they have gone through that journey themselves, and they talked about what it was like growing up and coming to terms with yourself and their own personal journeys and things like that. And they interjected a lot of their own story within the story of Pose as well. And when you look at that versus something like the character of Chandler's dad on Friends,
yes.
When you, and I know that it's a completely different type of show, but when you look at things like that, you can clearly tell the people who in the writers' room who do identify and the people in the writers' room who are straight white male. So that's the difference, and that's where we need to get the representation. And it's great to get representation and true representation on the TV screen, but we need them in the writers' room.
Yeah.
Because the writers' room are the ones that are telling the story. The writers' room are the ones that are creating the episodes and going, let's do this, and this is how we write it. And we're not just throwing in a trans character for a bit of comedic effect or whatever. And we're not just throwing in a trans character there because we need them to be a masculine person that's portraying a woman, or a female person pretending to be a male, or whatever. Like we want the actual representation, we want the true representation, we want the characters to be real to life and to be able to educate us, because that's what is needed. We need the education behind it. So is there, we've talked about absolutely like everything that we talked about way back in 2020, but like with now fresh eyes. Is there anything that you want to discuss whilst you're here for the last time? Is there anything that you would like to talk about whilst you've got this space? And you can say no. We've talked about everything, but if there is anything, feel free to say no.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot I probably would love to talk about, but we've not got the time for that.
Well, Jaffa says you're amazing.
I know Jaffa's also amazing. I work with Jaffa.
Oh, there you go.
Jaffa's a legend.
Jaffa is a legend.
Yeah. I think. So there's so much I want to talk about. I don't know where to start. I'm probably going to leave it there because if not,
That's
we
fine.
could be here all night.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing having you on the show once again, and of course for the last time as well for Spill It.
Yeah.
What has the difference been from your very first episode on Spill It to tonight's episode of Spill It?
I don't know. I mean, in myself, I'm like, compared to how I was then to compared to how I am now, I feel like a different person, but not like in a bad way, in a good way, because I've developed a lot and I've changed a lot, and a lot has changed in my life. I mean, I'm still Max. That's not changed. I'm still as short as ever, but I don't know. I think it's been like a very interesting 2 years for everyone. A lot has happened in the last 2 years. We've kind of come out of the pandemic. We went back into it for a little bit. We're back out of it. A lot has changed in the world as we know.
We did the hokey cokey, and then we
We
turned
did. Like I say, we did the
around.
hokey cokey. A lot has just changed. Everything. I mean, Kath has said that I'm more confident and comfortable in the person that I am. Thank you. I think, yeah. I think I am just a lot more confident with who I am. And
I can see that.
I don't.
100%, I can see that.
I think a lot of it is just come down to me feeling more comfortable with who I am. Like I've always known who I am, but I think with the change that have been happening, I can show people that, and I don't feel the need to hide it anymore. Like at work, it is extremely well known of who I am and that I'm trans, and it doesn't even bother me in the slightest. I'm like, yeah, and your point. I'm very open about it because I want to kind of be there. People need to have a chat, but I want to kind of help people and educate people as well because there's a lot of kind of misconceptions, and I'm just kind of living proof that them misconceptions aren't true. So I'm like, yeah,
Good for you.
yeah,
Good for you. It's so great to see, and as I said, like I can see the confidence like coming off you, and your aura is completely different. But yeah, you are, and it's so nice to be able to have connected with you again, especially for the last episode of Spilling. It's been great to hear the journey that you've gone on to as well. So yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on the show once again, Max. But before I let you go, there are two things that I need from you. Number one, for anybody who may want to connect with you, even if it's just a case of just dropping you a quick message and just going, "Oh, hey, you're really inspiring, and I really liked what you said on this episode," or even just to drop you a message just to say that well done for going on the episode, etc., etc. Where can people find you, or where can people find more information?
I mean, you can find me on Twitter. I'm trying to figure out what my username is because I can't remember off my head. So it's Max, MAX, underscore AL underscore TON, I think.
Max underscore
So AL
AL
underscore TON.
TON.
Yeah.
So, and I'll edit this bit out of the podcast when I edit it, guys, but just for you guys at home, like
That one. Yeah.
there
That's
we
much
go.
better. I'm going to say feel free to kind of contact me on there. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I only have my friends on there. I don't want people that are nasty. I don't like nasty people. I mean, if you message me, you're probably lovely, but I don't like nasty people on my Facebook. I mean, what else? If people do need support, like I said before, there's a lot of places out there that can kind of get you help and support. say if you don't even know where to start, contact your GP, contact kind of local charities, organisations. They're all very lovely, and they will be able to help kind of point you in the right direction. But it's just going out there and seeking that support because you're not alone. There is a lot of people that have been there, done that. So yeah.
Nice. And that's a nice little segue into our last little part with you, Max. Now, at the end of every episode, and season 3 is no different, ladies and gentlemen, them and friends. At the end of every single episode, I get my guests to leave a quote, and that can be something that they stand by, live by, it could be something they've made up that they just really like, it could be something that they've heard and just think, you know what, I love that quote, and that's how I'm going to live my life. But it is a quote that we will be sharing on today's episode, and I'm just wondering if you've got your quote for me and my guests. No. Let me start that again. I'm just wondering if you've got a quote for me and my viewers and listeners today.
So my quote, which I think you made pop up on the screen now, is being true to yourself is the bravest thing you can do.
And what does that quote mean to you?
To me, it's kind of not even like within the trans side of it. It's just being true to you, kind of being your authentic self and kind of not letting anyone decide who you should be. It's kind of the most important thing you can do, not only kind of mentally, but physically. Because grumpy people who tell you what to do are not nice.
I love that quote, to be fair. Grumpy people who tell you what to do are not nice. That is going on a t-shirt. Absolutely love it. I will get that on a t-shirt. I'm gonna send it to you. I absolutely love that quote. Grumpy people. That's me.
It's true.
That's it. I love it. Grumpy people will tell you what to do, and not nice people. Yeah, I love it. Right. Okay, back to normal. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And for the last time for Spill It, because you've spilled it for the last time, you can now say your goodbyes.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Max. See you soon.
See you soon.
And there you go. That was tonight's episode. That was so cool. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show again, Max. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as my very first official guest on Spill It, to have you open up the season 3 for my first guest as well is an absolute pleasure. And once again, guys, it's been absolutely amazing having you guys here interacting in the comments as well and saying hi and being part of the conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to have you on the show. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay. Well. Next week on Spill It, we have got a brilliant returning guest once again. Obviously, as I say, every single week there's going to be a returning guest. Well, next week is no different. We have got Nathan coming back onto the show. Nathan Paul will be coming on and talking about everything to do with mental health. Now, you might remember Nathan from season 1 when Nathan came on and talked about mental health within the world and obviously men's mental health as well. And he talked about his very own personal journey through his poor mental health. Well, Nathan will be back to have a bit of a catch up with us all, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. My name is Marcus Wright, and when I don't do this, I do everything else in the world. But you can catch up with me, my story, and what's next for me as Spill It comes to a close. We're over on my socials. They are at _Marcus Wright. You can also catch me on my email address as well, marcus@spillit.uk. And for all things Spill It related, you can head over to the website www.spillit.uk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us to the end of the show. I just want to say a massive thank you once again to absolutely everybody who has joined on the show for this episode. I hope to see you all again in the comments. And until we spill it again, it's bye for now.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Spill It. You can catch Spill It live every week over on Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. You can also catch up with Spill It on the move on your preferred podcast streaming service. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials at @Marcus W. And for anything Spill It related, you can always get in touch with me by dropping me an email, marcus@spillit.uk.